Hello, everybody. Hi, my name is Chil Kong, and I'm the Artistic Director at Adventure Theater. Thank you for joining us for this Easter presentation of Storytime. So this is a really fun story time today. We get to read this amazing book, but I need to do a few things. House cleaning. So what we have is a reminder that we have ATMTC in-person classes happening this summer. We get to see people in person. Oh my goodness. I'll tell you, my son is super excited. He's going to be taking some of these classes, and he's just excited to be in the room with other people. We will, of course, be following many protocols of safety and cleaning for COVID. So please take a note. All of the information is on our site. Again, this is ATMC Academy in-person classes that's available from grade 3 through 12. They will be at the Wintergreen Plaza. We have them starting actually in April, the early ones, and we have summer sessions happening later. So the April one starts April 13th. That's real soon. So come on out, please join. We also have competitive scholarship are now open for auditions. So we have a priority deadline at April 12th. So please submit your auditions. The final deadline is May 16th. The in-person auditions actually is May 17th. And this is please visit summeratmtc.org for more information. Again, this is the competitive scholarship, and they're open for auditions for slots. So please submit. We also have a $50 spring discount. So it's $50 off of our summer camps. The sale does end April 17th. Please join, register, visit summeratmtc.org. This is the classes that actually my son's super excited about. But again, we have April sessions as well as summer. Please come out and join us. So we are now back celebrating Easter in Katas. So thank you for joining us. I want to introduce our guest host. Now, part of this philosophy, and I think I didn't explain, is that what we really love here at Adventure is having people of like minds come together and share and talk. The idea is that whoever's the writer or the guest host or the guest the book writer, they don't have to explain their book to me. The idea is that they actually get to chat, these people who are in the same community or have similar stories. So you have to really discuss in-depth, fun things so that we can have a smarter and much more in-depth discussion about some of the subjects that are happening in the book. So I want to introduce our amazing guest host. Her name is Sofia Bagdasarian. I apologize. I'm going to pronounce it again once she returns. So Dr. Sofia Bagdasarian, she received her master's of social work at UCLA, and for the past 15 years been a professor of social work at Cal State University, LA, where she also teaches policy and analysis and community practice and research methods. She's also a principal investigator for Cal State University, LA Social Work Education Center, and serves as an evaluation consultant for nonprofit agencies. She's also serving as on the Simi Valley Unified School District on the board, and so she just recently won that. So yay! So excited for her to be doing that. Please come on out, Sofia.
Thank you so much. Yes, I'm Sofia Bagdasarian. Thank you, Jill. I'm so excited to be here.
Yay. So thank you for being here. I know that Leon, our executive director, was the one that kind of connected us. And so having you and Socia come out and read for us and just to discuss, we're just super excited. So thank you. I will leave it up to you to introduce Socia.
Yes, Sose Hedeshian is the author of the book that we're going to be reading today, and I'm super excited to introduce her.
Can we bring Socia out? Yay!
Hey, hi everyone. I'm happy to be here and excited to share my book with you all.
Great. So I'm going to disappear. I'm really looking forward to this conversation, and I'll see you at the end.
Perfect.
Hi, Sose. How are you doing today?
I'm doing all right. I'm excited and looking forward to reading the book. It's my personal story. It's about my grandpa and my grandma and the way I spent some time with them. And it was super fun.
Wonderful. Well, we can't wait to have you read Grandma's Secret to Armenian Katas. And yeah, so Chill, are you ready for us?
Perfect.
There we go.
Grandma's Secret to Armenian Katas. I'm waiting. Perfect. To my grandpa and grandma Sahag and Mariam Margosyan. Hi, my name is Areni. I love to go to my grandma's house to make katas. Katas are buttery, sweet, delicious treats that are made during Easter. It's an Armenian tradition, and when it comes to traditions, my grandma is, well, a bit strict. This is my grandma. She makes the best katas in the whole world. Areni, says my grandma and gives me a look. My grandma doesn't like to brag. Grandma, I'm just kidding. Or maybe not, I reply. I wash my hands, pull up my hair in pigtails, put on an apron, and secretly slide a tiny notebook and a pencil into my pocket. I cannot wait to help her, and most of all, I cannot wait to find out her little secret to making the best katas in the world. I'm ready to help you, Grandma, I exclaim. Follow me, she says. We go to the back of the kitchen and she opens an old cabinet where she stores old jugs, pots, and pans. What are these for? I ask. We are going to measure the ingredients, she replies. It turns out that my grandma never uses measuring cups to measure the ingredients. It's difficult for anyone to understand her measurements, but since she has done it for so long, it comes naturally to her. I write my first note. Note number 1. No measuring cups. How does this work? For this recipe, we are going to need 1 large pot of flour, 2 medium pots of butter, 3 small-sized bowls of sugar, 4 bottles of milk, as much as needed of black seeds to decorate, an enormous amount of eggs, and a pinch of salt. Note number 2. Do not repeat this at home if you do not have my grandma's pots and pans. Sahag, can you get the horn out? Grandma asks Grandpa. What is a horn? I ask. Grandma almost never talks about her past, especially when there are guests around. But since we are alone, she begins her story. Way back in the old country, we used to have a low-rising table where we would prepare food. When the Turks ravaged our village in western Armenia, we had to leave everything behind, including our kitchen table. After a moment of silence, she adds, You don't see people running away with their kitchen tables, do you? We both smile. Your grandpa Sahak has built a new one, the exact copy of the old table, and we bring it out from its hidden corner only once a year, she continues. Note number 3. Note to self. Read more about Armenian history. Note number 4. Ask Grandpa to build a new home just for me. Volunteer to help. Grandpa spreads out old newspaper on the kitchen floor. He sets up the table right in the middle, then places a couple of large pillows around it and says, Mariam, the khon is ready. Without losing any time, Grandma gets right to work. She starts by mixing the flour, the eggs, the butter, and the sugar. Then she begins kneading the dough. I watch her work the dough and eagerly ball up my hands into fists and jump right into it. We knit with all our might until my grandma says, "It's time to stop, Areni. Now we have to let the dough rest and rise." She covers the dough with several layers of clean kitchen towels to keep it warm. Then she blesses the dough by making the sign of the cross on it and finishes by saying a small prayer. Note number 5. Don't forget to make the sign of the cross on the dough and make sure to ask for God's help. Nothing happens without God's will, according to Grandma, including the rising of the dough. I can't wait any longer, so I ask her, "What's the secret to your katas, Grandma? I have heard that you use some kind of magic to make the dough." "I have no magic, sweetie. You just watch me make the dough, and I have making it the same way for more than 30 years. We don't have much time to lose. We need to get the sweet buttery filling ready, and we need lots of it," she explains. Note number 6. The sweet buttery filling is called horis in Armenian. The horis is everyone's favorite part, so always prepare a large batch. While Grandma prepares the filling, I decide to supervise the dough and watch it rise. So I sit there and watch the dough and wait. And wait. And wait. And wait until, you can skip that picture. And wait and wonder again about her secret. Okay, I'm waiting. Perfect. Until, "Grandma, the dough is ready," I yell out of excitement. The dough has almost tripled its size, so we sprint back to work. And that's them preparing the katas. Grandma bakes her katas in an old oven that makes squeaky noises every time she opens its door. Soon the house is filled with mouth-watering aroma of traditional Armenian Easter katas. Finally, after a full day of work, the katas are ready. "Areni, can you deliver a couple of katas to our neighbor?" Grandma asks me. "Also, can you take these two to Nicole, and on your way back, stop by Kim and deliver these two to her? And don't forget to say Happy Easter," she adds. "I have also set aside a couple for your Uncle George and your Uncle Chris and your cousin Maral," Grandma says. "Grandma, what are you doing?" I ask, a little upset. "There's almost nothing left for us," I point out. "Oh, don't worry, sweetie," Grandma replies. "The leftovers should be more than enough for us." Exhausted, we sit down, Grandma and I, and share a warm kata. It tastes heavenly. We are tired, all right, but I ask her for the last time, "What's your secret, Grandma?" "The secret, my love, is in sharing it," answers Grandma. Note number 7. Always remember to share.
I just love that ending. Yeah, that ending was just so great. So what inspired you to write this book?
Well, Sophia, when I had the kids, Narine and Gasya, and they were little, I told my story. That's my story with my grandpa and grandma. And a couple of years down later, I asked, hey, remember the story that I told you about grandpa and grandma? She goes, no, you've never told us any story like that. And I'm like, oh, I realized that the kids are not going to know about it. So I thought the best way to put it in pictures and drawings. I didn't know how to draw books, and I did a little bit research, and here we are.
Oh, wow. So you actually drew the picture, you illustrated the book yourself?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that. Wow.
Well, I always loved painting and drawing, and that's my hobby. So, but then I didn't know how to put a book together.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing led to another. I did a little bit of research and then worked it over time. So here we are.
Wow.
Thank you. Thank
So
you.
so this is your first book?
Well, actually, it is, and it's not. The first book was the story I didn't write. It was my husband's grandma that gave us like kids rhymes, Armenian children's rhymes. So I had put those rhymes together with illustrated pictures. So that was the first book that came out. This was the second, and then I have another Armenian book that's called Im Anunes Nairiye, and that's like an Armenian girl sharing her traditional Armenian festivities, also celebrating everything American. So just like our kids today, I would say.
Oh, okay. So that means my name is Nairi?
My name is Nairi. Yeah.
Nairi. Okay. Do you have any plans to translate that one into English?
At this point, I'm working on another book, but yes, I will have it in mind. I'm recruiting my kids or anybody that volunteers. They're most welcome to help me with that.
Well, what's the new book that you're working on?
The new book that I'm working on, it's another story that my grandma used to tell, and down the road we realized that my grandma never told us stories haphazardly. So instead of criticizing us, she always would tell us a story, and through that story, looking back, I go like, oh, that's what she meant. That's why the story. So one of her stories that she has told every one of us, and we all know about it. So that's one that I put it to writing, and then kind of do some pictures, and it should be coming out soon.
Oh, wonderful! So you're sharing the wisdom of your grandmother with the world.
Exactly.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, in my family, and we live on the West Coast, and I know you live on the East Coast of our country. We have katas at different times of year, not just at Easter. So, is the tradition of having katas at only Easter something that's, a tradition for your family in particular, or is that something that's on the East Coast?
I don't think it's an East Coast or West Coast kind of thing. I think it has to do more with the church. It's the Armenian, or in general, the Orthodox Church celebrates Easter by making sweet bread or the communion bread. And over the time, that has evolved to being kata for Armenians that came from the village that my parents came from. That's why during Easter, they prepare this sweet Easter bread or kata. And sometimes I would say lines have blurred between family tradition, group of ethnicity tradition, or I would say religious tradition or church tradition. It's a
Mm.
blurred line. You cannot draw the line where it exactly comes from.
Okay, yeah, because we eat it all the time. At any time of year, whenever we want it, we can go to any Armenian bakery and buy it and eat it.
Well, way back then, I don't think they had bakeries, and then
True.
it's not readily available. So Easter would always be the one that had the extra sugar in it, and
That's true. And for the folks who are watching at home, you may have caught it. I started calling it gatas with a G, and you refer to it with the K, and that's wanted to let the folks know that it has to do with the diaspora of our community and the language that has evolved based on like my family in the 1800s, both my mom's side and my dad's side went to Iran. So, their language developed and was influenced by Persian.
Yeah.
So we refer to it as gatas with a g sound. So, and your family probably didn't go through Iran. And so you refer to it with a K, right?
Yes. Well, we refer to it with the K, and I would say it's Eastern Armenian, Western Armenian, or even I noticed that you spelled your last name with a Y-A-N. A lot of us spell it with an I-A-N.
Yes.
Last name. So it's the same thing, except the letters are a little bit, I would say, replaced. Most of the time, it's the K and the G that's the most obvious one. And then you can figure it out, whether they're speaking Western Armenian or Eastern Armenian.
Yes. Or Armenian. They're like from Armenia. Armenia proper.
Exactly.
Yes. And a lot of it had to do with the Armenian genocide, which you refer very lightly and age appropriately in your book when you talk about, grandma referring to the Turks, in the old country. Why was it important for you to just, gently mention the genocide in your book? Why was that important for you?
Usually it's a very difficult subject, and definitely you don't want to discuss it with the kids. But in our case, I think we don't have much choice because it is our history. It is part of our history. And you don't want to put them in a situation they're completely oblivious to the past. And then at age 16 or 18 to find out about it. It will be better to have small discussions it also will help them understand the context of everything around them. Yeah. I personally see it that way. Why is it important for them to learn the language? Why is it important for them to respect tradition? So that way, it just put it all in a context if you do it with a bit of history in there. Mm-hmm. So that helps with them understanding their, situation and why we're sometimes different from everybody around us.
Yes, and speaking of tradition, I think it's to share a little bit about our traditions. I think maybe folks might be interested in learning a little bit about our traditions. And I think a fun one that my husband always thinks is fun is about our food and the food that we serve. Yes. And the tradition we have of when guests come over, And we talked a little bit about this, about how, when guests come over, we, on the coffee table, will often have dried fruit and fruits and desserts, and we'll serve coffee. And, so if a guest is coming over for lunch or dinner, we'll serve all of this food that we'll eat. So we'll eat dessert, and then we'll have lunch and then dinner. So we'll eat desserts and fruits and things before we even have lunch.
Yes, a lot of our Armenian traditions are actually related with some kind of a food thing. And we have what's called anushabur, or sweet soup, you would say, literally translated, but that's another dessert that we have the tradition of making that during Christmas. And then of serving dried fruits like dried apricot, dried figs, walnuts during Christmas. And then we have the church kind of also having parallel traditions to do the blessing of the grapes during summer. So it always has to do something where tradition of the Armenians includes food and celebration and festivities.
Yes, that's so true. That's so true. Yeah. Have you, speaking of food like that, have you thought about adding a recipe that the readers can follow in the book? Since the recipe is
I know that's one criticism that I always get, that I did not.
Well, not as a criticism, but just
well, I didn't want to put the recipe in there because I didn't want to turn it into a recipe book.
This is true. This is true.
And you can find that posted online with himom.com. So
okay.
The recipe is readily available, but it has to go through the website, and that's himom.com. So
okay. Do you want to tell the viewers what hi means?
Hi means it's like, and it's spelled HYEMOM.com. Hi means Armenian in Armenian. So basically, ArmenianMom.com. That will be the translation for
yes. Yes. So, what other traditions do you celebrate with your family?
Well, our most favorite one that we like to celebrate with family is the Feast of Assumption of Mary. When we go to church for the blessing of the grapes. That was something my grandparents respected very, very seriously. They never ate any grapes before that date. So now that grapes are available all year round, it used to be that was not the case. So they used to wait for that day, go to church, have the picnic, have the festivity celebration, and come home with tons of grapes, and everybody kind of would start tasting this and different things. So it was always the big day for our family, and we try to keep it that way nowadays too. With my kids, I like to repeat the same thing.
Oh, that's very nice. Oh, that's great. So, I guess in closing, if kids would remember one thing from this book that you've written, this wonderful book that you've written, what would you want that one thing to be?
I think the best thing for them is to cherish their time with their grandparents. It's always fun. They learn tradition. They learn about everything in life, and it's always fun to be with them.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for sharing your book with us. I found it really just a joy to read, and thank you.
Hello, that was lovely. I do want to say, like, because everybody, of course, is like, what's the recipe and what are the differences in the desserts and what's the tradition? So I just want to thank the two of you for this lovely conversation. And we put a link to the History Channel's post about the history of the Armenian genocide, and I just want to remind our kids here and our families reviewing that we are in danger of repeating our history if we do not understand our history. And this is something that is really important that we all discuss. So I hope that you spend this time to talk about that. I hope that you do get a chance to research about the what happened back in the 1910s. Now, the one thing I do want to explain to everyone is that, because we use the word diaspora, right? And for some families, it's like that can be such a big word. But you two are examples of the Armenian diaspora, and I'd love to hear like what that is with the two of you. Like, how is that when these families are kind of displaced everywhere? Because you two have different experiences, right? Your families have different experiences.
Mm-hmm.
I would say it's different experience, but also very, very similar. If you look at it, I grew up in a very traditional Armenian family, and we kept our traditions, but we also belong to where we are, and we kind of enjoy who we are, the way we love it in I would say, country, be it America, be it Iran, be it Lebanon, be it wherever you are, because Armenians are all over the world. So we also like to keep our traditions and respect everything around us. So.
Mm-hmm.
And so you went through Iran, is that correct?
Yeah, well, my family in the 1800s, both my maternal and paternal side, they immigrated to Iran. So they actually weren't in Armenia when the genocide happened. I mean, we had some family there, but most had already, during the first diaspora, because there was a diaspora that happened in the 1800s, that they were already in Iran. My mom's side moved back to Armenia after the genocide, and then my parents, after they had us, I was born in Armenia, and then we immigrated to America when I was 4. But as Sosa said, Armenians, when wherever we immigrate to, it's a very sort of traditional family structure, where we're able to assimilate to the host country, and we respect the host country and are able to, like I said, assimilate, but also maintain our own traditions. So we take in the traditions of the host country, but then also keep our own. That changes as generations go on. So like my children aren't as Armenian as I am, I would say. But I'm also not married to someone who's Armenian, so that also changes. So
but that's part of the celebration of what's amazingly beautiful about the United States, right? Is that we are all of these things, and we're the best of these things, and we're also the mix of these things, and that's what makes this country so amazing.
Exactly.
And because when you say Armenian, it means very different than like West Coast Armenian.
There are differences, but there's also similarities, like Sose was saying, but that's what the diaspora is. The diaspora just means that people had to immigrate. There wasn't, we talk about push and pull factors, which, that's another sort of big word, sort of, or big concept is, why do people leave their country of origin? Because they have to, right? Yeah. So there's some reason that they leave. So, so that's just something to think about.
And so what I want to remind our family, sorry, Sosha, go ahead.
I was just going to say, in my grandma's case, the Mariam grandma was an orphan, and by the time she got to Lebanon, she was 5 years old. She was orphaned, and they placed her in an orphanage that was run by Catholic nuns. So she grew up under their supervision. She was very religious. Everything for her came through that education, and those nuns were her everything: education about life, religion, and how to continue. So it also that kind of influences, and even though a lot of the things that she was taught not exactly the same thing as Armenian Orthodox Church, but then she had brought into the family. So we're also including different influences, different education, different languages, and creating, I would say, like a melting pot of different influences. So you cannot exactly draw the line and say, this is an Armenian, this is not an Armenian kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's the true definition of diaspora, right? Because everything is in this giant spectrum of what the people and culture and religion belongs to.
Exactly.
I also want to just make sure that people understand within our audiences out there is that these things that make us different, these things that define us in different ways, either to a country that either no longer exists, or to a language, or to religion, what makes you different is actually what makes you special. And I just want to remind everyone is that these things that we celebrate, the things that we talk about, these books that talk about their people's cultural origins or their religious origins, this is so important to make sure that you understand that they're a part of you. They're always a part of you. You cannot change that. Some of them you wear on your face, right? Like it's, I'm Asian. They don't know what type of Asian, but I'm Asian. So like I carry that history with me no matter where I go. And it is what defines who you are, but it also is only a part of what you are. So I hope what you're learning today is to embrace all the things that make you who you are, including katas or gatas.
Exactly.
And a really difficult history of overcoming things that happened that was really tragic in the past. Mm-hmm. And if nothing else, it just explains like how incredibly resilient the Armenian community is all around the world. Mm-hmm. To survive something that horrific. So don't go away, the two of you. This is the I just have to do kind of like closing up, so don't leave yet, Sophia and Sasha. If you can bring me back up, Margaret, and then with the slides, then we could jump to just closing this out. So thank you again for joining us. Again, this was a lovely conversation. I hope the family out there and all the kids, if you have any questions about any of these things, please put it into the broadcast. Put it into the live stream. We will make sure that we add the links. There's a lot of things that we discussed today, not just cooking, but parts of history that we have to really deal with. So again, thank you for joining us. And we have our world-class digital programming that we went from live to digital is coming back live again. So please join us for our in-person classes. They are available and it's starting on April 13th. So we're going to be in person really soon, next month. We're in the month, like 2 weeks from now. So please, I hope you join us. And then of course, we have competitive scholarships and they're open for auditions. We have signups all the way until May 16th. The auditions are happening on May 17th. These are scholarships that we have throughout the year. We are really excited about these and I hope you join us and come back. Again, my partner, our education director, Margot, has done a remarkable job of making this a stepping stone to not just be a performer, but to make the best person that you can be. And again, there's $50 discounts for summer camps. So my son's going to be enjoying these, and I hope you can join us. And again, I just want to say thank you all for joining us. We do this once a week. If you can donate, we would love that. Go to atmtc.org. That's atmtc.org. And I hope you join us. Please donate if you can. And so that we can share more stories like this about the amazing diversity that we have within the United States. And we'll see you soon.